to Joe Goes Everywhere, a big blend radio food, wine, and travel podcast featuring award-winning photographer and travel writer Joe Clark. Let's find out where she's taking us today. All right, everybody, we are going to get a taste of Penn Yan, New York, in upstate New York. Did I say this right, Joe?
Penn Yan.
Penn Yan.
Pennsylvania Yankee.
That's the name. That's how that name became, right?
That's right.
So this is when you went on the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association conference last year in the fall.
It is.
And you went to Penn Yan. And so where is Penn Yan for people to get a visual idea of where you're going to be? So,
well, the Finger Lakes, if you can kind of picture the Finger Lakes, they come down, one finger at a time coming down.
Some of them have one middle finger, I'm just saying.
Well, yes, just saying. But this particular lake, Keuka, looks like a Y.
Okay.
So
or a peace sign.
Penn Yan is on the eastern branch at the top of the Y. So it looks like this finger is pointing that you should go to Penn Yan.
Oh, okay. And you went to Penn Yan.
And
apparently there's bed and breakfast, there's wineries, there's distilleries, breweries.
And lots of food.
So when we talk about this being part of our Eat, Drink, and Be Merry show, as well as on, Joe Goes Everywhere podcast, would you say you did exactly that? Eat, drink, be merry. Did you eat, drink, be merry in Penn Yan?
Yes, I did. I ate, I drank, I was merry. I had a big, beautiful Victorian room in a gorgeous bed and breakfast. I was very merry.
In the meantime, look at this nature behind us. So there's waterfalls, there's water everywhere. So you're in a natural, beautiful setting to enjoy all of this.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's part of the beauty of it is where you are when you're enjoying something wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, makes it even better.
Hey, you know what now? I know we're talking about the Y and for the Penn Yan with the Finger Lakes, right? And it could be the peace sign, it could be a Y, but it's also kind of like one of those, what do you call them? That when you pull the little string back. No, when you pull the string back and then you launch something at someone.
Gee, if you hadn't said that, I'd have had it.
Now I don't know what it's called. Come on, we all know what that is, where you pull something and lob something off of it. This is gonna
slingshot.
So 1 o'clock. What?
So you
slingshot.
Let it, I have to have a second of quiet to process. I call it a cubbyhole brain. I say I have a cubbyhole brain because all these things are stuffed in there and the cubbyholes are chock full. And, sometimes I poke one more thing in and something falls out the back. So it takes longer to retrieve.
You wanted a moment of silence around me. That's hard. But Nancy calls it her filing cabinet. And she's like, it may take a while to get to the file in the back.
That's it.
The more you do,
and
the more files.
Over the back side sometime and takes longer to find them.
You don't want me to say anything. So a slingshot is the word.
Yes, slingshot is the word.
Okay.
So it does look like a slingshot.
Yeah, that's pretty cool though. So Penn Yan, so the name is Pennsylvania and Yankee put together. Historically, that's how it gets its name. But it turns out, so we're in the Finger Lakes region, right? So wine is a good thing. So should we start with food? What do you want to do? Where do you want to start? You got food, you got wine. It seems like you can.
They kind of spill over because some of the best food we had was at wineries. So if you start talking about food, you're going to end up talking about wine at the same time. Either way, one of my favorite things were those dumplings, and that came about because you had a man and wife, and he wanted to have a winery, and his family, that was his heritage, was wine, and his wife came from Indonesia and made dumplings.
Oh, wow. So there you go.
There
so
you go.
This is
there's a line out
Kemmeter Wines, right? Kemmeter.
Kemmeter.
Kemmeter,
Yep.
Kemmeter Wines. And everyone, just so
And
everyone knows, when
Sans Dumplings.
we're going to talk about these wineries and all these places. Joe's got a great article listed and linked in the episode notes. It's up on blendradioandtv.com. So you can just type in Penn Yan, and that's PENNYAN, and you will find it. But it's 2 words. Penn Yan is 2 words.
Pennsylvania and Yankee. There you go.
So you type that in on blendradioandtv.com. You'll find it. She's also got a link to a pancake recipe, which is cool.
From the bed and breakfast.
Okay, is this
and
the
that's
aubergine?
Another thing. You know, when you go and you stay in a place that you're staying at a bed and breakfast and they're feeding you every time you turn around, it's hard to gear up and go out to restaurants and eat more meals. But, you know, I suffer for my readers and listeners.
Yeah, just like when you get to dessert, right? I know. So the wine at Kemmeter Wines, so that is a German winemaker, right? So
he is German, Johannes Reinhardt, but his Indonesian wife is Amelda. And so she's the one in there making the dumplings. But on the day we went, and you'll see that in the pictures as you look at the photos that go with this article, you'll say, that doesn't look like a Johannes to me. No, it's not. He was busy that day because the grapes were coming in and he had people there working harvest. So he was out working his behind off in the field. And so to do the tasting, his wife had to leave the dumplings in charge of themselves and come over and pour wine. So you'll see her pouring wine and smiling.
Oh, well, there you go. So you went from dumplings and wine at Kemmeter Wines, and then you went to a town of Dundee, right? And then went to Tabora Farm and Winery. And I wanted to talk about this because what's so interesting.
I knew you were going to love it.
Well, because there's actually a town in South Africa called Dundee that we lived in, which is actually a British. It's a British name. Dundee is British or Scottish. I think it's Scottish. But anyway, it's in the British Isles. But there was a Dundee that we lived in. And but then did you try the bobotie? Is a South African?
Of course. Oh my gosh, it's delicious. Theirs was just to die for, as we say in the South. We say it all the time. When something is just exceptional, we say, oh, it's to die for.
Grape pie, there's the grape pie too?
The grape pie. I am telling you, it was some good food. And this place, they started out, again, you've got people that came from another country and they started out one place. They were in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and they had an orchard, and that's where they started their Tabora Farm. And 89, 99, I guess it was less than 20 years, right around 20 years later, they sold the orchard, moved to the Finger Lakes, and started a winery.
Why not?
It sounds a lot like me. They didn't know what they wanted to be when they grew up.
Do a little bit of everything. Well, you know, and he could have gone into distilling, you know.
That's true. That's true.
But they
have a lot of the bottles and labels and the artwork even have the South African influence. They have the chicken. I'm drawing a blank now. What's a speckledy chicken called? The little fat guinea hen.
Oh, the guinea fowl. Yeah.
Guinea fowl. They have those guinea fowl on the signs and on a lot of the labels. Then they also have some of the flowers from South Africa, the blooms, the blossoms are like on the labels. Protea. That is.
So he's from South Africa? Both of them?
Yeah. Yeah. I think they make both. I got to go back and look at my notes.
Well, hoe gaan dit met jou? I'm just going to say a South African shout out to them. Yeah. So that's awesome. So, you know, and that's the thing, is coming to a different country. And the other thing too, you were talking about their actual building is like a Cape Dutch house, and the farms and the you've got to go to South Africa. I know you've been to Namibia, but you really need.
South Africa's next on the list. It's on my.
It's a big deal because the wines in Stellenbosch and that entire area and the actual winery estates are these Cape Dutch buildings. And so that's what you
Oh,
experienced.
cool. Well, I've had a lot of the South African wines because when I was in Namibia, there was a wine festival or a wine, like a 4-day wine tasting. I know.
Of course,
I did
Joe.
my best. I did my best, people. But they had over 200 wineries there from South Africa. Even I could not try something, even one from all 200. And most of them were pouring 4 to 6 different
Oh
different
my
bottles.
gosh.
I was just in heaven.
Yeah, she was happy. Yeah, I hope you had a lot of babuti to go with that.
I didn't. It was sad. There wasn't enough food to go with they were
Oh,
giving little tiny samples of things. So we weren't getting nearly enough food for the wine we were putting away.
wow. So she was giggling around, weren't you?
I
Well,
was.
so the wine at Tabora Farm and Winery, did it have kind of like a South African vibe to it? Because I know it goes by the actual region, not just, hey, I'm from South Africa and I'm gonna make
Make
South African
South
wine.
African wines.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can't you
doesn't
can't
work
make
that
South
way.
African wines in Finger Lake dirt.
No, it doesn't work, but
The wines are, it's got a lot to do with how they're raised. So it's the dirt and the growers. So they use some of their own techniques, I'm sure.
mm,
But I would say it's more the names and paying homage to their homeland than it is
okay.
really the grape itself.
Mm,
But so many different grapes grow in the Finger Lakes. Um, Actually, one of the vineyards that we'll talk about has the largest acreage, the largest
hmm
amount of grapes, of vines, of saperavi outside of the country of Georgia. Um, so
Wow.
yeah, it's neat when you go these places and there are wines from all these other places that are being grown, and I'm sure they don't taste quite the same because the terroir, the dirt is different, the minerals are different. But it's pretty neat when you taste things and say, "Oh, I had this when I was in Georgia."
Wow.
And that was a
Wow.
long time ago. My
Wow.
favorite wine in Georgia was a red blend, and I've still got the bottle. I brought back 2
Wow.
bottles of that.
And we're not talking Georgia down the street from Joe, Georgia, or up
Nope.
this down the street. Yeah, it is down the street from you.
We're talking about Georgia in the USSR at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So this is fascinating how you really had like an international experience in Penn Yan.
Yeah, yeah.
When you think about it, this is an international, well, you got to think New York's, New York itself, New York City, was a landing spot for
It
many,
is.
many years
But
still
it's
is.
so funny that the people that you meet here in Penn Yan, the different winemakers and the winery owners or vineyard owners, they didn't come through New York. It's like one came from Asheville. He was in Asheville
Okay.
last.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's pretty neat that they come from, you know, um, New Zealand
Okay. And that's
to the
Morton
Finger
Halgren.
Lakes.
Okay. So that was the Ravines winery.
Yeah.
Okay. And so some of these are award winning, just giving you
Oh,
a shout
I
out to
think I
this.
think probably all of them are. I just didn't have all the facts and didn't list all the awards because you won't let me write a book. I try.
Well, you can see it on the websites too. I
Everybody
mean,
knows I try to tell it all, and
she
list
wants it
says
all out there.
no.
Well, the ravines, so they have 130 acres. That's a lot of acres to me. Is that, isn't that's quite a bit? This
Yeah,
winery,
yep.
130.
130 acres between 2 ravines. Then they added another location. So it's
Mhm.
it's more than 130. That's
One of them.
one of them. Yeah.
I know, because I was reading the other one you said in your article, their other location is Seneca Lake. And that's not far, far away, but it's beautiful out there. That's
It's
a
like
beautiful
the
area.
next lake over, I think.
Mm. Oh, and then there's
But that,
another, yeah. So I'm looking, Herman
but that's the
Weimer.
neat thing about the Finger Lakes. It's like you go, and that's why you can't see all these wineries. You can't do it all. It, people say, well, the Finger Lakes, how many wineries are there? It's like, I don't know, 140, I think.
It's
But
like the Napa of New York
it's not
State.
like you
Yeah.
can go down the highway and hit all the 70 on one side and turn around and come back up the
You
other
don't
side,
want it
hit
to
the
be
other 70.
rushed.
These are like up and down the east and the west side of the lake. Then you move over a little bit and you go up and down the east side of another lake, and then you get to this one, the Y. So you have to go up and out and down into the V of the Y and back up the other side and back down this side. It would take, I think it would take me all summer. That's what I need, is a summer cabin in the Finger Lakes.
Hmm.
Isn't that a good plan?
Oh, just putting it out there into the ethers,
Just putting it out there. Somebody that
Yeah.
has a cabin available for the summer.
A
I'll
summer
take really
cabin.
good care of it. I won't.
And you might need a chauffeur.
That's true. I will need a chauffeur.
Maybe you need a car with an RV on the back and then, or,
Oh no, I'm not towing anything that
I
big.
know I'm not like that either, but I love this because
I
when
would
you
get stuck.
there's so many, but who wants to rush a wine tasting? That's the thing.
Nobody.
Wine is supposed to be relaxed, enjoying, sipping, but keeping with this international thing going on here with this theme. And back in Dundee again is Herman J. Wiemer Vineyard. And I hope I'm saying people's names right. But now he's German too, right? So
Well,
he
when you look at a lot of the grapes or a lot of the wines that you get out of the Finger Lakes, you start looking at them and you say, everybody makes Riesling. There might be a reason for that German
yeah,
Riesling to be popping up everywhere. It's sort of on the same latitude.
latitude.
So they've
Yeah.
got kind of the same climates, kind of the
Hmm.
same.
They get snow.
They get snow, they get the cold, they've got the lake effect from all these lakes, though. The ones that are planted on the side of the lakes, they get warm quicker. There's like this warmth coming up. So they've got all these little microclimates, as they call them. So they can grow almost anything.
What well, that's the beauty of it is, when you're saying going up and down the lakes and the fingers, it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
so different in each place. It's like anyone's garden is the same thing. You got sun over here, shade over there, sun over there. You have microclimates in your own backyard.
Yeah, you do. If you pay attention,
Yeah.
you're
Well, it's the
right.
same thing as you like I'm sure you've had this happen in your life too. The front yard, it's raining, in the backyard, it's not.
It's not true.
I don't know about snow in your area in the South Carolina, but so Herman, he's like a big deal in the Finger Lakes. He's
He
like one of
is
the
one of the
founders.
pioneers. Yeah, he
Yeah.
came. He came in the '60s and went to Bully Hill, and I talked about Bully Hill and ate at Bully Hill a couple of times. We talked about that on one of the earlier shows about
Hmm.
um, Corning and the surrounding area. Uh, so he started out there from, I say started out there, but he was already making uh, wine. He was a family winery in his homeland in Germany. He was in the Moselle Valley, so that's known for their wines. He came to Bully Hill and was there for roughly 15 years, and then started his own winery.
Mm,
And then when he retired, his winemaker became a co-owner of the property. He and another man,
okay.
Oscar, bought the property and continue that Wiemer legacy.
Ah, very cool. So it just
And
keeps.
and the guy that bought it, his winemaker that bought it, the year after he bought it, he was named winemaker of the year by Wine Enthusiast magazine.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool.
That is cool. Whew. Okay. Now we've got some wine. Now, what about breweries, distilleries, and you went to a cidery? So, wow, Joe, you had a good time. How long did you stay in Penn Yan again? Because this is
Penn Yan was only 2 days.
well,
It
you
was
did a
all
lot.
day on the way up, and then
Ooh.
stayed, and then all day the next day. We had a flight at, I don't know, like 5 o'clock or something. So we had most of the second day.
So you went to Climbing Vines, and this is a craft ale company. And so that's it. And you got to see the hops too. Is that where you got the hops pictures?
Yeah, I sent you some pictures of that. Yeah, they're just climbing right up.
I have to tell you that I thought Joe may be getting into the marijuana there a little bit when I saw the hops, kind of looks similar. No, just
these
messing.
things look more like a pine cone.
Yeah, they do.
They look like a fluffy pine cone.
Yeah, no. So did you have fun? How's the brew? Like, is the beer and the wine like an even balance of being good?
Yes, but I'm not a beer drinker. I like the lighter and the fruitier beers, the ones that don't have a high bitters level. My bitters level tops out about 30. So if you look at something and it says that it has a bitters level of 23, you can go, oh, here, Chad, you'll like this one.
Okay, so that's what your level. Okay,
yeah. So I know, and I also learned that I do like hops, even though it's got a higher bitters level, but not hops. I'm sorry, malt. I like malt.
Oh, malt. Okay,
but then I like
it's
malt
smoother
in my milkshakes. I like malt, so it shouldn't have surprised me to find out I like malty beer.
All right. Well, we
I
call
learn
that
something
malted
new
milk.
every trip.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing. So I was reading some of their like they make pilsners, honey apricot pilsner sounds
Oh, that
amazing.
was good.
Ship of Fools Hazy IP, that would be mine. I would be going for the IPA. I love a good IPA. And a Ship
Oh,
of
I've got a
Fools
sign
name,
I'll have to send you.
Ship of Fools, Jim Morrison and the Doors. It's a good album.
Yeah, they have all kinds of cute names for their drinks up there. Well, they do
So
everywhere. Everywhere you go, people are creative with the names, and you enjoy looking at the labels and reading the names.
I think that's the fun part of it,
It
is the labels and everything. Because like you're saying with the South African, with Tabora Farm and Winery, doing their labels with the proteas or the flowers and things like that.
and the
It gives you
guinea
a
hen.
story. Yeah. So now Laurentide Beer Company. So they're also, I was going to go back to the other one is also doing cider. Bynes is also doing cider,
Yeah, they
but
do
Laurentide
ciders.
Beer Company. So they're in a carriage house. This is cool.
200-year-old carriage house. It is gorgeous. We had walked from the inn, from the bed and breakfast, we walked to dinner. And then on the way back, we walked a different way back to the inn. And we passed this gorgeous house, these big columns, just this fancy, beautiful place. And it turned out that was the Laurentide Inn. And behind the inn is the carriage house, which is where this beer company is. So they have the LBC, Laurentide Beer Company, in the backyard. And they actually rent the top floor is a room you can rent. And so if you just can't drag yourself away from the beer, you can spend the night upstairs.
I love that. I love that. That's fun. That is fun. But how cool. And so they've got food too, which is so a lot of these places you are able to eat as you're sipping, right? And be able to have some bites. So you keep, that's a good thing.
You just keep on eating.
Keep
We
on
came
sipping.
from dinner, but their food looked so good. I wanted some of that too. It looked delicious.
So Barrington Distillers, this is in Dundee. Apparently, we get to the distilleries. There's apple pie, moonshine. So with you being out from the South, your shine, your bootlegger history. How did this stand up.
It was good.
Oh,
It was
okay.
good. It wasn't Virginia moonshine, but it was good. We didn't get to go to the distillery. I would now that I know it's there, boy, next trip I'm headed to Barrington Distillery. But fortunately, at LBC, Laurentide Beer Company, they had the apple pie moonshine and a couple of other things on the menu. So I found this on the list, and of course I couldn't turn it down.
She needed dessert.
I did. That's what I said. Exactly. I had those mussels for dinner, and I had tomato pie for dinner, and I had sliders for dinner. What happened to dessert?
Yeah. So
apple pie.
all right. So a good dinner. You just went all over and had a good time. And so was this the Outlet 111 that you went for dinner, or where was that? That's a lounge. Ooh,
Yeah,
that's another
Outlet
winery.
Outlet 111.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's where we ate dinner that night. And they had live music out on the patio. And when we got there, there was somebody from another winery from Brightleaf Vineyards was there pouring on the patio. So we were tasting wines and ordering dinner. And of course, we had some of their wine to go with dinner. And they had a page of specials. But Outlet 111 is, I think 111 is the address, the house number. And I would say it's probably 3 floors, maybe 4. It's a century-old building, and it was once a warehouse where they kept fruit baskets, and they also pressed grapes in this building. And now it's been renovated, so they've got, I think the top floor or the top 2 floors are like lofts that people can rent. And then they have shops, and then they have the restaurant on the bottom floor. And the bottom floor then opens out onto a big, nice patio. And one of the canals comes by right behind it. So you can sit there and look at the water and maybe get lucky and see a little boat go by, or ducks. Little boat. It's not a big.
But I like the ducks. I want to see the ducks. I know you like the ducks too. That's, well, what a fun thing. And now you're just walking back, and then here you go to
and we heard all this great music, and I said, what's that place? And she said, oh, it's a bed and breakfast. And I said, why is it so loud? And she said, because there's a beer hall in the back. And I went, can we go?
But this is interesting because the Laurentide Inn, right, and the Carriage House.
Yep.
So this has some political history attached to it. I mean, there was, the governor, Lieutenant Governor, U.S. State Senator, and Congressman William Oliver was there, right? He built it.
Well, that's who built it.
That's who built it. Wow. So you had beer in the history place.
I did.
In the president, well, not presidential, but the, yeah.
But it looked when you presidential. It was fancy.
Yeah. Well, it was built in
place.
1920. So, yeah, man. So I love how everyone's turned something, how they've honored what is around them and the history and their history, their heritage, and put it all together.
Kind of, the melting pot that America is.
I love that, though. That's what makes good flavors. Now, I want to talk about where you stayed, because this is the Aubergine Inn. So I just want to know if they were growing eggplant anywhere,
Well, they might. She had a nice garden in the backyard. I bet you she did. I'll bet she had eggplant back there. Wouldn't surprise me. But it sort of was an aubergine color. And I'm not sure if that's where the name came from, but
it sounds very la-di-da, doesn't it?
It's a big, beautiful Victorian-era bed and breakfast. It's walking distance from everything in Penn Yan. She's got 3 rooms that she rents out with either a king or a queen bed. And then there's an apartment there that is for a longer term rental if you wanted to go, oh, that might be where I could stay for the summer. I'll have to investigate with Christine if that's available.
Ooh.
Ooh, there's a thought.
Ooh.
And then I'd
So
have breakfast every morning and could skip lunch.
but this is interesting because you were saying in your article that the sweets are very European inspired. See, so that's what I'm thinking. The aubergine, I'm thinking Italian, kind of European. It does sound European, and so the rooms have got antiques, and so
They do.
it
It's
sounds very
beautiful.
comfortable and tasteful.
It is. It is. It's
Mm.
wonderful. But
What
now
was
they do
breakfast
not
like?
have an
Oh,
elevator, so you're gonna have to tote your bags up those stairs.
well, you have all this, liquid fun and foodie fun, then a few stairs are not a bad thing, you
That's
know.
true. Helps work it off.
I was talking with our mutual friend Dave de Golier from Explore Steuben County, and he was talking about all the nature and everything. And no matter what we talked about, it went back to pizza, wine, hamburgers,
Funny how
ice
things
cream,
always go back to food and beer and
and
wine.
wine. Of always wine with Joe for sure.
That's true.
But it's so I was like, well, you got to work off so you can keep eating and drinking and balance it out. So it seems like this
Absolutely.
whole area, because we've talked a lot about upstate New York, where you were in
We
Steuben
have.
County, Finger Lakes. Would you say it's quality of life? Because as a listener to all of this and reading your articles about it all and looking at the pictures, it seems like it's healthy and happy out there
It is. It's
and
friendly.
delicious.
It's delicious. It's easygoing. It's not like being in a big city. These are smaller towns, and you never felt that rush going from place to place. You could walk in most of the towns. You could walk from wherever you were staying, the hotels we were in or the inns. We could walk to the some of the restaurants. We could walk to art museums. Uh,
I like that.
it it was a very it was a nice pace. It wasn't too slow. It wasn't boring, but it was
Mm.
fast enough to keep you interested and involved, but still slow enough that you didn't feel like you had run every race when you got home from vacation.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That's really nice. So that's a good vibe. We want
Yeah.
that. And it feels like you can put your phone down, don't look at the computer screen, you breathe fresh air, have a sip of wine,
Walk
have a
along a
giggle.
river, walk
Oh,
along walk along and look at waterfalls.
oh, I want to go there now.
I know, me too.
Well, this has been fun. It's always fun with Joe here. So, Joe, where are you taking us next month?
I'm going to take you to a couple of large nature reserves outside of Georgetown. So close to me, about 30 minutes from me, we have Hobcaw Barony, which was one of the last big land grants from the king that came to somebody here. I think it actually came to somebody who was never here. The man who inherited or was granted from the king this land called, and I'm not sure what it was called then, but it was a barony. Um, I don't think he ever saw it. He sold it sight unseen, I think. Um, so that is a very interesting place. It is 16 rice plantations were on this uh, point of land between two bodies of water. Uh, so it was surrounded. You have to have a lot of water. You have to flood
Mm,
rice. So it made
mhm.
sense. So we'll talk about Hobcaw and its history. And then there is the Tom Yawkey Foundation and the Tom Yawkey Nature Reserve or Nature Center. And Tom Yawkey, some of you sports people are sitting there going, is that Tom Yawkey that owned a ball team? Yes, it is, but I'm not going to talk about it till next month.
Well, how about that? Well, thank you so much, Joe, for that little snippet and a good cliffhanger right there. You go, girl. She's got this podcasting down. All right. So we'll be
I
back,
learned from
everyone.
the best. I learned from
Oh,
you.
there you go. Well, thank you. Well, cheers to you. Now you got your wine?
I do. My glass is full of Chateau Marcet, Pinot Grigio, and we have this adorable black lab flying the plane.
We like that. So cheers to you.
So cheers. See you everybody next month.
Next month, every second Sunday at 7 Eastern Time. So thank you so much, Jo. Again, everyone, links are in the episode notes. You can keep up with Jo at Have Glass Will Travel. See, there, just as she is now. And also Jo Goes Everywhere is the podcast name, but also go to recipiestravelculture.com for a lot more. Take care, Jo. Don't do anything we wouldn't do.
I'll try.
Thanks for joining us. Keep up with Big Blend Radio's Jo Goes Everywhere podcast on bigblendradio.com. Keep up with Jo's adventures. Go to haveglasswilltravel.com and recipiestravelculture.com.